شنو ممكن إحنا نسويه عشان نتفادى هروب طفل التوحد؟ شنو الحلول اللي ممكن تقترحين علينا؟ السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. اليوم حلقتنا عن الهروب. أنا سجلت حلقة عن الهروب، تكلمت عن الأشياء الأساسية، الأسباب والحلول اللي ممكن الأم تستفيد منه. أما لما جت الأخصائية حبيت أني أنا أسألها وتجاوبني بتمعن أكثر، يعني مواضيع معينة تطرقت لها هي في شرح هذه الحالة في أطفال التوحد اللي هو elopement، الهروب. فخلينا نروح نشوف شنو قالت الأخصائية. أول شيء حابين إن نشكرك على وجودك معنا وماخذين من وقتك الثمين. اليوم راح نتكلم عن موضوع الهروب. ما هو الهروب وما أسبابه؟
Eloping is when a child will leave the area without requesting or permission being given. The distance in which the child leaves the area, we define that it's a case-by-case basis or child-by-child. That is subjective. Sometimes we may say 5 feet away. Sometimes we may say 10 feet. Most of the time, I would say, to be safe, I would say anywhere from 5 feet away, or like if they were in their home, it would be out of the house in that situation, because the child can run free in their home. So that's what elopement is. It's just leaving the area, leaving the designated area without permission. Oftentimes children, that when we define that behavior, they're not granted permission to leave. So they typically would just run away.
So what is the reasons?
So the number one reason is motivation. Motivation is behind all of our behaviors in which we do. With elopement, it is motivation. Whatever that child may want to get to, a lot of times is to access something or someone. But most of the time is to access something where the child is leaving the area. Maybe they saw something at the park that they really liked, or something at a grocery store, market, or if they have like a friend, they go visit their friends the friends may have something at their home that they want to access. So yes, it's motivation. So figuring out what the child is motivated by, it definitely can help to decrease that behavior of elopement. But it's very rare that the child would just leave the area just because. Whether some kids just like to go outside and look at the trees, but they don't get permission to do that first, and it still scares parents. So
لقيت إن أحد أسباب الهروب هو التوتر. هل هو صحيح؟
Well, yeah, that too. And that was what we would consider what we call pretty much like negative reinforcement, where they can leave an area to prevent something, whether it's like loud noises, or like you said, if they're not comfortable with a person in the home or things like that, and they will leave to go to a safer environment or a safer place where they feel more comfortable.
طيب شنو ممكن إحنا نسويه عشان نتفادى هروب طفل التوحد؟ شنو الحلول اللي ممكن تقترحين علينا؟
So the biggest thing is, when it comes to elopement, like I said, figuring out what that child motivation is, whether it is to leave an area because of something that's in that environment that is subversive to them, or if it's to access something or someone. So finding out what that motivation is, and also too, you could do like different procedures where maybe you have extra locks on your door. They also have like the door stoppers, which is really nice. And today they have a lot of keypad locks, if that's an option for the parents to use the keypad lock. And a lot of times the kids don't know the code on there, so then you can use that. And if you do have a child that elopes pretty frequently, I would say for safety reasons, make sure you have something where you could track their location. Maybe put it on their backpack or, like a watch or anything like that, something they won't take off. Or that, you know that the child is okay. But as far as decreasing that behavior, you need to figure out what is the motivation for that behavior. If they want to access a piece of chocolate that's at the supermarket, have the chocolate ready in the home. Give it to them at different times that will, maybe they have a specific time they like to elope. Give it to them before that happens. Or if they want access with a friend, set up play dates, have calendars, have pictures set up to let them know this is when you would see your friend, instead of, the child being motivated to run away to go access their friend. But utilizing schedules and a lot of visuals are important so that child will know what to expect. I think that's a huge thing too when it comes to elopement is oftentimes children will elope because they don't know when they can access something. And we all like to know, we all like to have that level, I would say, of control in knowing what's going to happen next, or being comfortable with knowing what our schedule is for that day or things like that. If your child likes to go to a special place, or something, a place that's exciting for them, let them know when they're going to go, so that way they're not running out of the house to be able to access it. So those are different ways. And of course, teaching that child appropriate communication, that way that they can come ask you, whether that's pulling your hand, make sure you're attentive to where, if they do grab your hand up to where they take you where they want to go, whether they're requesting vocally or if they're pointing at a picture, things like that.
هناك عمر معين أطفال التوحد يهربون فيه أكثر من عمر ثاني مختلف أم لا؟
Typically, we don't. From my experience, I don't see it from at a certain age. It's more so when certain skills are in place, when they have more effective communication skills, and more functional communication skills. Because you have some kids that they are able to communicate, but maybe they don't communicate exactly what it is that they want, or they may associate that particular item with that particular person or things like that, but for the most part they may say giant or like a supermarket, they may say giant, or Walmart. Or I had one kiddo, what he would do is his parents would never know where he wanted to go, but he would speak in numbers. So like, let's say if Walmart was at a location at 771, Marketplace Drive or something, he would just say 771.
Wow.
So they started to pick up on it. So like if he had met a friend or if he wanted to go to school, he would just say what the numbers were of that location.
The address.
The address.
That's great. I don't know the addresses. I don't remember numbers.
So he would just go around and he would say the address, but he would just say the number part. But they started to pick up on that, and being able to tell him, we're not going to go to the mall today, but we're going to go to the mall tomorrow. Or and if they don't understand that, like I said, have a calendar, have things outlined. Pictures are always good because pictures are relatable, and it allows the child to say, okay, well, I see the mall for Tuesday and mom is crossed out Monday, so I'm gonna go to the mall tomorrow. So yeah, definitely I notice a difference when it comes to behaviors across the board, but especially elopement, when the child is able to communicate more effectively, because children elope for an abundant amount of different reasons. And like I said, figuring out what the motivation is behind them leaving the area, that is very important.
إذن حسب ما سمعت منك وفهمت إن لازم إحنا نلقى الأسباب بعدين نقدر نلقى الحلول. يعني شنو السبب اللي خلى الطفل ينحاش من البيت علشان نقدر نتفادى الموضوع ونحل موضوع الهروب مع الطفل. طيب، بما إن إحنا وصلنا نهاية الحلقة، حابة أسألك إذا عندك أي شيء تبي تضيفينه يخص موضوع الهروب.
Yes, I think that elopement is a behavior that can be pretty it's very scary for the parents, but it's also, I think at times it could be pretty scary for the child as well. I think it's serious behavior that oftentimes we may not take it, I'm not going to say quite as serious, but sometimes it may start happening where the child is in school and the teachers are like, hey, let's come inside now, but the child may run back out of the door to go access the playground because they wasn't ready to leave. So certain things like that, it's important to teach that child communication, as well as being able to teach them to accept no with accommodations of, if you tell them, okay, well, no, we're not going to go to McDonald's today, or no, we're not going to go to the park now, telling them when they're going to be able to access it. Because just saying no alone, I think it's, the start to wonder, okay, when will the next time I'll be able to access this? Well, I may have to just leave and go and access it myself. So elopement is a serious behavior, and I think it should be treated as such. And I do think that teaching the child effective forms of communication can help decrease that behavior. Really paying attention and finding out what your child motivation is, because sometimes it could be a piece of candy or a piece of chocolate that you have never given your child, but they got it at school or something like that, and they notice it in the store, and they're going to go back to that store to access that that thing. So just really just being on top of things with your kids and the children that you work with, your clients. And but I do think that elopement could be pretty dangerous.
وصلنا لنهاية الحلقة. الحمد لله على النعم التي لا تعد ولا تحصى، وعلى النعم التي لم ندركها بعد. شكرا لمتابعتكم هذه الحلقة، وإن شاء الله قدرت أفيدكم ببعض المعلومات، وانتظروني في حلقة قادمة بإذن الله. لا تنسوني الشير واللايك والسبسكرايب علشان يوصلكم كل جديد، وكل معلومة ممكن أنا أوصل لها قد تفيدكم وتفيد الآخرين. فسووا شير للفيديو عشان توصل هذه الفيديوهات لأكبر قدر من الأمهات اللي محتاجين هالنوعية من المعلومات، أو الأشخاص اللي على تواصل مع أطفال فيهم توحد. شكرا وإلى اللقاء.